That moment when you realize your skincare is actually working. That's Rodan and Fields, the #1 female dermatologist-founded skincare brand in the U.S. Designed by 2 dermatologists who don't just know women's skin, they know how to formulate for it. Rodan and Fields, love what you see. Tap the banner or visit rodanandfields.com/Spotify to get your exclusive welcome offer.
One of the great highlights of doing this show over the past year has been our weekly chats with Brian Kilmeade. A lot of you know Brian if you're new to this show. If you're on a new schedule for 2025, you might know him from the Fox News Channel. You might know him as a author of a lot of very popular history books. You might know him as the host of one of the most widely listened to and successful nationally syndicated radio talk shows in the nation, or you might know him as the host of One Nation Saturday nights on the Fox News Channel. But I love his appearances on this show most of all because we throw everything at him. We throw sports questions at him. We throw news questions at him, politics, foreign policy, media, you name it. And he is game for tackling just about everything. Brian, Happy New Year. It's great to have you back on the program for one more year.
Yeah, back at you, Frank. We have I can't give away the location or the date, but it's coming up soon. Our whole post-Christmas luncheon where people from WABC come around and we make small talk. And it was our chance to see each other face to face.
I'm looking forward to seeing you, and I'm even more looking forward to you picking up the bill. You know, I was going to do a dry January kind of thing, but now I'm waiting until after this lunch to do a dry January.
Right. It doesn't count lunch. Dry January is evening stuff.
That's true. Well, for me, the evening is the work day. All right. A lot of very serious issues in the news. Obviously, we saw this terrorist attack in the French Quarter in New Orleans. 15 people died, dozens of others injured. The person that did this was very devoted to ISIS, at least recently. He was killed in a shootout with police. What do we know about this case at this point, Brian?
No, we know a lot. And I think there's a real effort, in my opinion, early on. I might feel differently in 5-6 days, where people are really resentful that we get misinformation or non-information and we only get it later. And I think Senator Kennedy and Cassidy came out and they just said, look, we're going to make sure we don't blow the investigation, but we're going to tell you as much as possible. And what do we know? We know, number one, these guys both use Turbo. I wasn't that familiar with it. But, for example, Frank, I understand if you sign up for Turbo, someone comes into New Jersey, I think that's where you live, and they want to use your car. They bypass Avis and Hertz. They use your car. They both use this. We both know.
And just when you say they both, just in case people, you're talking about the New Orleans situation and the Las Vegas explosion.
And I believe they both served in the same unit. Both drivers of their cars were dead, one with the pickup truck in New Orleans, the other one with the cyber truck. We do know that there were IEDs. It looks like I see a picture, about 9 of them with nails in them. They would think 3 others were planted. They originally thought there was a man and woman. They were putting these down on Bourbon Street, and yet now it turns out they caught up to those people, and they were just tourists. So they were wrong about that, just wrong place at the right time. I mean, the wrong place at the wrong time. So we know this guy, according to his brother in Texas, got radicalized a couple of years ago, became a Muslim, went over to Egypt for 10 days, has not been the same. On Facebook, he pledged to kill his own family and kill others and allegiance to ISIS. And he put an ISIS flag on his truck. And we also know, too, that a very understaffed New Orleans, you think New York has it bad in terms of getting people, retaining people. New Orleans is a joke. I happen to know somebody that goes to college in Tulane, and everybody knows it. They almost canceled Mardi Gras a couple of years ago because they could not secure it. So now we find out, and I give credit for the honesty, but it's just mind-boggling. They say the terrorists defeated our defenses. We never thought he would or she would drive up on a sidewalk. So you got to pick up through a sidewalk, and no one ever suspected they would do it. And that's when we see the video of the terrorist in New Orleans driving up on the sidewalk, killing 15 people while others struggle to their lives and getting out of his car and shooting and hitting 2 officers who are struggling for their lives.
Yeah, I mean it's a horrible situation, and whenever you see innocent people brutalized like this, it's absolutely sickening. And the fact that it was done with trucks that were rentable by anybody, it really conveys a sense of powerlessness to the general public, that if you're determined to do something like this, to go out and hurt people or kill people, no amount of law enforcement proactivity is going to stop you from being able to at least do some damage.
Maybe. But I do know that I think there's got to be a national push in big and small cities. I mean, we can't protect every city in the country, but there's got to be an evaluation of all these cities, because I know New York, and I'm going to have Ray Kelly on the show today. You know, he's been studying this. I've been talking to people on Long Island and New York City that do this, because our Joint Terrorist Task Force is as good as, I think, the FBI in New York City. And they got this right away. And they said, you know, some of the things in New Orleans are egregious on Bourbon Street. These people were not protected, and they were bulking it up for the Super Bowl. What the hell are you waiting for? You're waiting for the Super Bowl in order to fully secure, and I guess get the federal money in order to put up the barriers that the experts say are necessary to allow people to walk these legendary streets, which have been pretty safe since the 1700s. So, and basically look the same way they did in the 1700s. But you know what's going to come out? I think it's going to come out that this guy sat there and stared there for a while. And not that you look at somebody in a pickup truck and think, what's he up to? But he knew exactly what he was doing. He got the Army service for over 10 years, honorably discharged from Beaumont, Texas, and then they're raiding his house in Houston, Texas. So we know that he's been surveilling the place. And if you want symbolism, shift over to Vegas. A Elon Musk truck in front of Donald Trump's hotel. I mean, come on. Are we not getting the message?
Well, I mean, I think that's certainly the message they were conveying in Vegas. It sounds like you're also pretty certain that these two attacks were linked.
I think that's where it's heading. I'm not going to say I don't think you or I are foolish enough to think that we have certainty in this. We're not leading the investigation, but we're looking at this. He served in the same Army unit. It happens the same day. Obviously, by the way, they just looked at the voting record of him before he became radicalized. They said he was a Democrat. The last time they could see that he voted. Not that that matters, but just don't think that he's if he had
right. He's not Team MAGA.
If they had a Trump flag,
right?
They would quickly say that's what happens, right?
Interesting. All right. Well, we'll be watching Fox and Friends and see what develops there. Last time I spoke to you, I asked you if the Republicans were going to throw Speaker Johnson overboard. You scoffed at that question, but acknowledged that a lot of people are kind of bringing that up. Over the weekend, President Trump endorsed Speaker Johnson for re-election. There are still 5 Republicans, including people like Chip Roy and Thomas Massie, who are not yet committed to backing Mike Johnson for re-election, even with the Trump endorsement. Where does this go from here, Brian? Is this going to be Kevin McCarthy all over again?
Well, number one, I wouldn't say scoffed. I think your question's a good one. You know,
you scoffed at the idea that they might do it.
I scoffed at the idea that it would be a good idea.
Right, I got it. Okay,
that's what I feel better at. But the question's good from your part because
Thank you.
You're right. There are people, those people in particular, Thomas Massie's out. And Burchett is also somebody on the fence, and Chip Roy wants to have a conversation. But just I ask you, just lift up your head, look around, and say there's no other alternative. It's not I'm going to name the vice speaker. I'm not going to name Steve Scalise speaker. He doesn't have the votes. I'm not going to name Jim Jordan. He doesn't have the vote. There's not a woman that has the vote. So there is no option. Your option is just being myopic, putting blinders on and saying, I don't like that last deal, and I don't think we're getting everything we wanted in a house that has a 2-person, if that, advantage, which will eventually be a 4 when Waltz's seat gets filled and Stefanik's seat gets filled and Gates' seat gets filled. I guess it'll go up to 5. But now you have to understand, I think that this is where Johnson could use improving. He's got to communicate. He's got to say, okay, this is what I got. This is what I gave. You know, if you don't like the deal I'm getting, let's go in there and I'm going to deal with Trump and Musk separately. I'm going to go, guys, this is what I'm doing. Tell me where I'm going wrong. And if they come back and go, get me everything, just go, Mr. President, I can't get you everything. Elon Musk, let me just explain to you, this is not the Tesla factory. But maybe these guys go, let me tell you how to negotiate, Mike Johnson. You go back there and you say this and you threaten. But I'm saying they have their relationships. Now he's got experience. What he has to do is do the Kevin McCarthy thing. Kevin McCarthy would never walk away from cameras, even after he was ousted. He kept the reporters in the know, and also it prevents them. It kind of makes them feel a little less reluctant to turn on the speaker. People get ticked. You just sit and you wait, and he walks out and he doesn't talk. And he might be doing everything McCarthy's doing, but he doesn't communicate it. Now, I did speak to McCarthy, and he said that there were 4 or 5 things that he would have done that Johnson didn't do, that you only have experience when you're after you saw what he saw under John Boehner, lived what he lived under Paul Ryan, and then had the job for 2 years or a year and a half. So, and then watching Nancy Pelosi, there's certain things that you only learn just because, number one, he's good at it, and number two, he's much more resourceful. So I think that Johnson could evolve into that, and there is no alternative. Now, I think, Frank, do you really think the Republicans, in the midst of this terror investigation in Louisiana, want to blow up the Louisiana congressman? I mean, I think that factors into it.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
Plan on flying? It's time to upgrade to a Real ID. Because in order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a Real ID, or you'll need another acceptable form of identification. So don't wait. Find out how to get your Real ID at tsa.gov/Real ID. That's tsa.gov/Real ID, or visit your local DMV. And then you'll be cleared for takeoff.
Well, do you think, that's a good point and one that I hadn't considered. Do you think we're going to see a situation where the Democrats strike a bipartisan deal to vote for Johnson so that whatever these 5 Republicans do doesn't matter?
No Democrat. You think the Democrats are going to bounce? They already came out. Democrats already came out and said they're not.
Well, no, I understand that they said that, but if the choice is, unable to, govern and have any sort of...
No, they said they won't do it. And here's what they want. They want to embarrass Trump. If Trump can't get a house, get the house set, if they don't have a speaker, they can't confirm his election. And how embarrassing it would be for Republicans to be in chaos again and not confirm a president that's desperate to show people that there's not going to be chaos. We can't get a day one. We can't get, I think it's the 8th. We can't get a January 8th.
Well, I think it's January 6th, right?
Is it January 6th? So we can't get a January 6th in 2025 if there's no January 3rd. So my goodness, if they just blow up the House and then they wrestle for another 3 weeks and it goes right to the inauguration and the president can't get his electoral win confirmed, I mean, that is beyond embarrassing. And that's really the stakes, guys. You might be saying, Brian, don't you understand he's got to be more conservative? Don't you understand that this is a deal we can't sign off on? Yeah, Absolutely. Number one, he's in a transitional majority right now. It's going to be smaller eventually than ever before. And in order to get some of those stuff across the finish line, he had to give. And he pointed out to me there's like 10 or 15 things that were in the bill that Trump wanted that are now out because they had to strip it when in passing. But, they got to get the spending. I get it. I just don't know if the bridge budget was the place that Doge should make their stand. I don't think it should happen. Get me to January 20th, and then let Johnson be more transparent. And guys, Musk and Trump have to be more disciplined. Elon Musk blowing him up at 4:15 in the morning, in my opinion, was not known by Trump. And 10 hours later, Trump joins in the outrage. But to me, they got to talk. And Susie Wiles has got to make sure, and I think she's starting to do it, that you just go up to Elon Musk, hey, I know you're a multi-billionaire rich man in the world, but this is the way it's done. Don't get in front of the president again.
Since you mentioned Trump and Musk, there's a lot of controversy now over the issue of H-1B visas. Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are basically pushing the idea of more H-1B visas. Trump seems all about it at the moment. A lot of Trump's base, which was attracted to him because of a position on stricter immigration, they're not loving what they're hearing on the H-1B visa front. Where do you see this one going, Brian, both from a policy point of view and a political point of view?
Well, I'm with Musk and Vivek. Make sure it's not abused. I don't want a bunch of American engineers unemployed, so we get the Bangladeshi engineers and the Chinese engineers. Especially China's got to have a special look. But I like the idea of merit-based immigration. I like the idea of not sending our first-round draft picks out of Stanford, who we've vetted, obviously, and give them an incentive to stay. Why are we training them and sending them back if they want to be here and improve themselves? And the first time I was enlightened to this was Steve Jobs' biography by Walter Isaacson. He talked about Jobs. They said, Steve, there's a lot of criticism of you taking your manufacturing and your creation of these iPhones. All your business is actually in China. He goes, I don't have the manpower here. I don't have the skilled labor here. He tried to talk to, Steve Jobs tried to get with Obama on that. Obama didn't want any part of it. He's like, I can't get into that. I got other things on my plate, whatever that is. And so this is an issue that they all talk about. So why don't we try to get started to make more Teslas here? Why don't we try to increase the number of engineers at SpaceX? Obviously, I'm worried about China and different countries, but they're saying it. A lot of these men and women are brilliant, and we're sending them away because we put them in the same category as a Venezuelan gangster sneaking across our border. And it's not. It's part of what I think is the easier part of immigration reform. The harder part is, how do we get 20 million out or 12 million out? The easier part is, how do we get guys and women that have proven themselves at our lead institutions to stay here? Because we need them in these jobs. And, if the Americans start surging in engineering and doing in these areas, maybe we revisit in 7 years. We have a little bit less, but you can't just take a holistic approach. We want all immigrants out. To me, that's dumb. So what Susie Wiles said is, enough of the public squabbling. What people have to understand is, I don't mind if Vivek and Steve Bannon and Elon Musk have a fight. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think they just have to understand that Trump makes the decisions, then you shut up. Steve Bannon has to learn he's not president. President's always going to be loyal to him. He's one of the few that stood by him after the Access Hollywood tape. I get it. I think Steve Bannon's bright. I understand it. But his views are not governing views. They're idealistic views. I want practical views for people that have to hire engineers like Musk and all these people in Silicon Valley that come and speak to Trump. They're laying it out in front of them. It's like, these are the positions I can't fill. I need more H-1 visas. So that's who you should be arguing with. And I think we're learning in this interim period. Hopefully the new Trump team is learning. You got to keep your public fights. I don't mind transparency. It helps our shows. But keep your public fights quiet, and let it leak out the old-fashioned way. According to sources who tell Fox or WABC, there's some disagreement about the H-1 visa program, as opposed to, look at what Musk just tweeted out. I want to blank your face, and I'm going to fight to the death for anyone that takes me on it. I'm like, goodness, what's going on? I mean, how could you get that angry?
You mentioned China in the context of the H-1B discussion. Briefly, Brian, Xi Jinping says that no one can stop China's reunification with Taiwan. With Trump coming into office now, how likely do you think an aggressive action from mainland China to Taiwan is, and what do you anticipate the American reaction being?
I think he's got to get clear in this right away. I saw those comments too. And the one thing you can do is you could answer by delivering the weapons that are 2 years late, but they're beginning to arrive now. And some of them were delayed because they needed them in Ukraine. The missile defense, the massive training of Taiwan. What you have to let them know is through back channels, without saying you go in, we fight. That's just not the way it's been done over the last 50, 60 years. But if you have to make this the biggest porcupine in the world, and China has to see the problems that Russia's having, their economy cratering and all these things, and say, do we want this? Especially because all the experts tell us their economy is really sucking wind. So why we got to make that the last, like, to push that from their top priority, which is a distraction for the people in Beijing, and we got to make it really one of the more difficult decisions they have to make. I really don't understand the obsession. To me, it's a lot to do with the distraction from a society that can't get in gear after COVID. They caused it, poisoned it, and is getting away with it. And I also think that if you look at the younger people in China, they're not working, and they're also protesting. They're doing this. They're doing the quiet quitting. They're doing the quiet, I'm not trying.
Right. Right. No, it's definitely very bleak as an outlook for a country for them. Brian Kilmeade, check him out on radio. He's going to be joined by legendary New York law enforcement expert Ray Kelly, who, in addition to being police commissioner, served in the Department of Treasury, was a Marine, and knows a thing or two about a thing or two. I'll certainly be listening. Brian, I'll see you at that lunch. Thank you.
Go get him, Frank. Thank you.